Oh, I cannot believe this is still happening in 2025, where politicians are still trying to force the Ten Commandments onto the walls of public school classrooms as if kids need a religious loyalty test before they sit down for math or science. Luckily, a federal judge in Texas with common sense just ordered public schools to defy their state's new Ten Commandments posting law, calling it unconstitutional. And this isn't even new. The Supreme Court already ruled on this over 40 years ago. But the fact that we're repeating the same fight from 1980 should concern anyone who cares about secular democracy, religious neutrality, or basic constitutional law. In 1980, the US Supreme Court struck down a Kentucky law that required the Ten Commandments to be posted in public school classrooms. The case came to be known as Stone versus Graham. The ruling was crystal clear. The law had no secular purpose. The Ten Commandments are undeniably a sacred text in the Jewish and Christian faiths. Therefore, forcing them onto school walls violates the Establishment Clause. And that precedent still stands today. It has never been overturned, weakened, or reinterpreted. So these new laws, or these attempts at these new laws, I should say, they aren't bold, they aren't innovative, they're stupid and out of touch. And for dinosaurs, they're already declared unconstitutional ideas being repackaged for political points. Fast forward to today in 2025. Texas passed a law requiring all public school classrooms to display the Ten Commandments. Oh my God, what a bunch of bullshit. Thankfully, a federal judge stepped in and told every single Texas school district to defy that requirement outright. According to the Reuters report, the judge ruled that the law was unconstitutional because it violates the Establishment Clause, the same principle the Supreme Court applied in Stone versus Graham. In other words, the law wasn't just bad, it wasn't just controversial, it was something federal courts have already rejected for decades. So the fact that they could even consider getting away with it is just mind-boggling to me. Their brain cells are not working. And by the way, real quick, shout out to Judge Orlando L. Garcia. He's the judge in question that shot down this malarkey in Texas. He's a real American hero. He's keeping our children's intelligence and education safe. Because of him, kids in Texas no longer have to listen to these Sky Daddy worshiping, Bronze Age fairy tales, cult worshiping level of bullshit. And it should not be in schools. Separation of church and state. What happened to that? Supporters of the Ten Commandments being in classrooms keep claiming that these laws are about bringing back traditional values. And I'm just like, no, I'm sorry, but you're dumb. They're about broadcasting a specific religion through state power. Okay? The very first lines of the Ten Commandments are, "You shall have no other gods before me, and you shall not make for yourself an idol." That's not a universal moral code. That's a religious directive. And it's exactly the kind of government-endorsed message the Constitution prohibits in public schools. Public education is not a missionary field. Kids do not need theology hanging over their heads while they're trying to learn geometry and chemistry and actual world history and actual US history. And also, going back to the values thing, there's no universal law saying what are the true values and what are not. Values are based on the individual, what they decide for themselves. Some may be good to others, some may be bad to others. Some may be more traditional, some may be more liberal, some may be more contemporary, some may be more, you get what I mean, right? Like, it just boggles the mind, especially my mind, that people still think that values, their traditional values, are part of this universal moral, I don't even want to say moral code, moral law. And I just, all right, now I know I'm a hater of anything religious, but let me step back a little bit and play devil's advocate. Think about the students who are not Christian. What if they're Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, or atheist, or agnostic, or from secular families, or from more local traditions, or something else. Maybe they're pagan. Hell, I know some people that are Odinists, and they're really chill. So imagine walking into your class and seeing a poster telling you essentially, your family's beliefs are wrong. Your friends' beliefs are wrong. Your religion is false. Your identity is against the rules. The government has no business putting children in that position. That's coercive, that's exclusionary, and the courts know it. In 1980, the Supreme Court said no. This year, in 2025, a federal judge said no in Texas. But also, I forgot to mention, Louisiana tried this same crap during the summer. And each time this happens, the reasoning is the same. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? I thought the people in Congress were supposed to help us, to lead us, to guide us, to protect us. But instead of serving the people, they are servants of their false sky daddies. And I'm gonna keep saying that because I think it's funny. If you're offended, I really don't care. And using these, this is so frustrating to me. Using public schools to promote a religious text violates the First Amendment. And these bills just keep coming back. Not because they're legal, but because certain politicians want to wage a culture war at the expense of children's constitutional rights. This was never about history. This was never about morality. This was never about tradition. It's all about power and control. It's all about colonization of their Bronze Age fairy tales. Now look, as much as I don't like it, people can believe in whatever they want. They can hang the 10 Commandments in their homes, their churches, their cars, their pockets, anywhere. Part of why I made this channel is to have a conversation to at least put a dent in this whole religious malarkey that I believe has just been the biggest scam in the entire world and truly the cancer of society. But I'm not naive. I know it's not going to go away overnight. So for right now, people can do what they want, but not in public schools. Public schools must serve everyone. And this goes for every government property, every piece of public property. They all must remain secular. Kids and law-abiding citizens as well, they deserve education, not indoctrination. They deserve classrooms, not sanctuaries. They deserve teachers, not preachers. And they also deserve a government that respects their rights, not one that pushes religion on them. If your religion is so fragile that it needs to be mandated by the state, that's not faith, that's insecurity. So yes, recent courts have struck these laws down, but this fight isn't over. This is just a first step in many more fights to come. Because every time the political winds shift, someone, once again, tries to sneak religion into public institutions. And we're going to call it out every single time. Right now, it's predominantly just Christianity, not even other branches like Catholicism or Mormonism. And if it was any other religion, I would be saying exactly the same thing. Judaism isn't safe. Islam isn't safe. Hinduism isn't safe. Buddhism isn't safe. Paganism isn't safe. Satanism isn't safe. Nothing is safe to me. It's just, as someone who lives in America, in our current alt-right wing trash that is the government, there's a lot of Christians in there. There's a lot of evangelicals that are cancer to our human society, and they are choosing religion, not the people, even if they're not saying it. Because the moment government is allowed to choose a religion, we stop being a democracy and start becoming a theocracy. And if we get to that point, well, I don't know if YouTube will allow me to say what I think will happen, but you can imagine that for yourself.